Let's start working on our camera system. The first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and grab your main camera and just drag it into the player. By making the camera a child of the player, if you go ahead and run the game, it's automatically going to move with the player, just like that. So we're already almost done. The next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead on the player. Let's go ahead, click on the main camera, go ahead and zero out the position. This is going to give us that first person look. If we actually zoom into it, we are now directly inside of our player. And what we want to do here is we want to raise it up to about the head of our player. So about right here. And now if we go ahead and actually run this, we are actually moving in a first person instance. Now your controls are backwards. So let's fix that. All we have to do is set the Y rotation on our camera to 0. Now we're facing the proper direction. You might be thinking, how can I make it so that my player doesn't have to start this way? What if I want to rotate my player 180 degrees so that he faces this way? Well, we're going to have the same problem when you run the game. We're running backwards again. So how can we go ahead and have it to where the controls are normal? For instance, if I set the player to 0 and we face this way and I go ahead and run this, you'll notice that my forward key does move me forward and my backwards keys move me backwards, and same for the left and right respectively. So why does that happen? Well, this comes down to local space. So in Unity we have two spaces. We have local space and then we have world space. And you can actually see this right here. There's a little icon here that says local and world. And what we can do with that is we can actually see what our local space to our player is. When we move using our underscore controller.move method, it's moving us in world space. However, our player's coordinates are getting passed in as local space coordinates. So what we need to do is we need to take our local space coordinates and convert them to world space. But what does all this mean? If I go ahead and rotate my player to 180 degrees, you'll see here that locally my forward direction is facing the shark, but my world space direction is still facing behind me. That's because the world space direction doesn't change. It's the direction of your camera. And as you can see here, this is how our scene should look, being on a normal x-axis, y-axis plane. My forward direction is this way, but my player's local direction is facing the shark. So what I want to do is I want to take my local direction and I want to convert it to my world space direction. That way I can move relative to where the camera's facing. That will allow me to rotate, look around, and I'll be able to move in the direction I'm traveling. So to do this, all we have to do is take our local space to world space. Unity provides us with a method that allows us to do just that. The code to do the conversion between local space and world space has been automated for us by Unity. We just need to make use of it. So what we're going to do is open up your player's script, and all we have to do is we have to take our velocity vector and we have to convert this to world space. To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to say velocity equals, and we need to take our local values of our transform component. So we need to take on our player the x, y, and z values and the whole rotation and scale, everything related to the transform needs to get converted to world space. To do that, we say transform, and we're going to say transform.transform direction. Transform direction from local space to world space. This handy tool does all the math and translation for us, and all we have to do is pass in the vector3 direction, which is basically our velocity. So here, our velocity is going to get reassigned world space values. I'm saying take my current transform and take my values, which I'm passing in as velocity, which are the values I want to translate, and then reassign the world space values to my velocity. From there, I'm going to move based on my world space values. By saving this, we can head back into Unity. And now, if I go ahead here, we have our main camera, find my player. I should be able to now start facing the shark, and I should be able to move in the direction I'm pressing. Go ahead and let it compile, run your game, and now I can move forward and backwards based on my player's position, because now I'm taking my local space coordinates and I'm converting them to world space.